Okay, welcome to this morning's Fife Property Show. Today we're going to be talking about high price. Thanks for asking that, Richard.
What we're going to talk about today, Jim?
Oh, thank you. Now you've mentioned that, let's talk about it. We're going to be talking about high price and low stress. How to time your sale perfectly for a worry-free move. That almost sounds like an oxymoron. How to sell your property and worry-free move, included in the same phrase. Is that accurate? I'm not too sure. But a lot of people actually say the way we manage things, sometimes that is exactly the case on the majority of occasions. Hence the reason why we've got such a high standard of 99. Well, I think the feedback's 99.27% from our customers that have used us already in terms of approval rating. I mean, that's astronomical. Top 3%, according to the Best Buyers Guide. For a stage, the Best Buyers Guide in the UK, top 3% we're in. So we must be doing something right in terms of the seller's journey, in terms of the buyer's journey, but it's not right every time. Just remember that, because you can never be perfect. You can get damn close, though.
You can get close, but yeah.
So, the phrase, timing is everything, can be applied to every major decision in life. But how is it relevant to your move? Well, from the advanced preparations to meeting your deadlines to choosing an agent, the magic ingredient is actually time. So you can make decisions, take action, and handle surprises without actually going into meltdown.
Yeah.
Which I often find quite of a challenge for people that know me. I'm pretty a process-driven, prescribed format person. Once I've got the exact efficient route in order to do something, I get really bent out of shape if it changes from that prescribed format. But you know, I'm learning, I'm understanding, I'm empathetic towards other people's needs. So in this week's blog or vlog, we're covering how long does it take? How long does moving a home take? What best months to sell a home like yours is? Taking your time to pick the best estate agent, allowing time for pre-sale preparations, seasonal advantages, and styling tips. Now, seasonal advantages and styling tips is the one I'm definitely going to come into my own, Richard. So listen out to that towards the end, definitely, because I think that is going to be the best advantage and information to give people right now, especially as we're coming up to the Christmas.
Don't say it. I was going to say, don't say it.
Christmas. C word there. Christmas. Christmas. You know, it's like Elf. Yay! Santa's coming.
I've never watched that program.
I'm in one of these moods this morning.
Yeah, I've never seen that film.
You know, for goodness sake.
Actually get for everybody. I've never watched that.
That's ridiculous. We're going. I tell you what, I'm going to have to make that a condition of your employment to watch Elf.
I'll maybe watch it with my niece and nephew this year.
Perfect. That's brilliant. By planning ahead and leaving as little to chance or the last minute as possible, you'll enjoy a smoother and more successful moving experience. With that in mind, let's start timing your sale to perfection.
Yeah.
So how long does it take for moving home, Richard?
So moving home, I mean, almost every seller asks us this, and it's the $1 million question. How long is it going to take to sell my home? And the answer really is different for everyone. So, but the surest thing, and
that's
the best
like a politician.
Well, it's different for everyone. But I think the surest way, like you say, to minimise the stress is really to have time on your side. Thanks for that. It's true, though. It does differ slightly for everyone. But if you've got the right structure in place and timing on your side, then you can minimise that stress factor.
I think a lot of people will be very surprised about how much time you're about to say to put aside at this point in time, because I can see what we've got written here, and it's like, wow, that's a lot of time. You could have a bairn in that time.
Well, like you say, we do recommend you give yourself 9 months from the point of actually putting your house, putting your home on the market to the day you actually move out. Now that's actually like concluding, exchanging, everything all done, dusted. And
But
it does seem like
why
a
9
lot.
months though? Why 9 months? Why, what's the reasoning behind 9 months then?
Well, it does seem a lot. So here's the reasons why. Your asking price, it should be set to scale, to secure your sale within 4 weeks, ideally. When your home is still fresh, it's just new on the market, it's not been sitting around for a long time. But allowing for that extra month gives you the breathing space if you need to maybe review things and have a restart. So that's the way you should really think about it, and that's the way the approach that we have.
Because there is a valid assumption out there that a lot of people actually think their house is going to sell pretty quick, which is the 4-week period.
Yeah.
So, we're actually giving people a heads up right now. It's like, it'll probably not be the 4-week period for the majority of people. And purely for the fact that there's about 2 months worth of stock on the market right now for everybody in Fife.
And the
There's,
situation
if you,
yeah.
you can effectively go on right now onto Zoopla, type in Fife as the region, take away the ones that are obviously sold already, and you'll come to around about over 1,000 properties available. Now, there's 1,000 properties available, and if you look at my weekly update every week, every estate agent across Fife is selling just over 500 every single month. So if you think about the 500 every single month, over 1,000 properties on the market, then therefore there's about 2 months worth of stock. That's why you're on average 2 months to sell your property. So you could be above average, you could be below average, so it could be greater or longer. But why the 9 months then? Why, is there anything else involved in this? Because they automatically think, everybody thinks, you've sold your property in 2 months. It's like, okay then, but you've got, what else have you got to do?
Yeah, so then after you accept your offer, then you need to allow around about 6 months for you to get to the exchange. And that includes obviously all your maybe potential legal issues, mortgage processing, your solicitors obviously processing things through, and also the other home sales that are in the chain to conclude as well. Because I mean, you might not be in a chain, and if not, that's good. But the majority of sales are in a chain, so you're waiting on someone selling theirs, or you're waiting on the sale going through for you to move forward as well.
I had this discussion with someone yesterday, actually, quite important. They kept saying, it's like, but if we put our house in the market, we've got nowhere else to go. We've not found any place yet. And I went, so all this time, so why have you come to me so far to think about putting your house in the market? Oh, well, we saw 3 other properties before, but we've put offers in for them. We've lost them every single time. One even went for 50,000 less than the offer we put in because it was a cash buyer and the family wanted their money straight away. And I'm like, well, that tells you everything about what you should be doing then. You should not be leaving your house off the market and then hoping for the best that someone's going to trust you to for you to sell your house within a short period of time in order to buy their house, especially if somebody's sitting waiting in the wings as a cash buyer, and that's what the motivation for them is. Again, I said to him again, this is all about managing the sale. And he went, what are you talking about, Jim? Managing the sale. What are you going on about? It's like, if somebody comes along and makes an offer, surely my house is sold. It's like, no. If you have nowhere to go and you put your house on the market, someone might come along and offer you the right price for the property. But if they don't offer you the flexible entry date you need in order to find your next property, in other words, an elongated date or a date it might be fixed, maybe 3 or 4 months or 5 months or 6 months down the road, and gives you that flexibility to find the next place or even find rental accommodation, then you can just refuse. But what would be the point of that? Because I'm nowhere further forward than I was if I didn't put my house in the market. That's where you've got to think about it again. And I went back to him again and says, think about this. If you didn't put your house on the market, you would never get any offers. So you'd never know.
So you ask for this for it.
So then I said to him, if you put your house in the market, at least you'll get offers and you can refuse them if it doesn't suit. Because you wouldn't have got them if you didn't have it on anyway. But God forbid, if you find your dream home and you haven't put your house on the market and then you agree to an offer's accepted on that dream home that you've got and they tell you you've only got 6 weeks to sell that property that you've got, then you put your house on the market
Then you're in trouble.
and then you find out you've not got the activity you expected. It's not flying off the shelf like everybody told you. Everybody that's not even a qualified estate agent told you. Friends and family, your house will fly off the shelf. I never knew houses to have wings. Did you at any point in time? Have they been drinking Red Bull or something? I mean, there are alternative drinks, but you know, Red Bull apparently gives you wings. So I've never seen a house drinking Red Bull. So a house doesn't have wings. It doesn't fly off the shelf. It's the estate agent. It makes sure that happens for you. Your house won't fly off the shelf. It's the person driving in the driver's seat, which is your estate agent normally, unless it's you. But if you are selling your own house and you're calling the shots, what experience do you have of negotiation in house sales? Very few people have that.
And that's
Very
when
few
it's
people
like,
have that.
we're coming from a time where the market's been really busy and things have been selling really quickly, and that's where people are in that mindset. But now, as the market shifts into a more saturated state, that's when your agent will come into their own. That's when they'll be able to display that they can actually sell your property and negotiate without having to, as people say, your property sells itself. Because in a really, really good market, sometimes.
I'll be honest, the person in question, he probably knows this anyway. He is quite a high profile person in terms of taking control. So he's used to taking control. He's used to being at the head of the ship, you know, steering it around. So it's difficult for him to let go to someone like me or anybody else and to let them take control and a hold of the reins, if that makes sense. So it's very difficult for him to understand that. And I could completely get that. But that's why your estate agent is the person you've got to put your trust in. That's why it's the person you've got to take you from A to B in the most efficient manner possible and ultimately stress-free as well. So the advice that I give out every single time is for that very purpose. I'm very process driven. You know that, Richard. Everything is like, here it goes, there it goes, there goes, there goes, there goes, there goes, there goes, there goes. Oh, there's the house sold. And then, right, let's follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. Right, there's the house concluded. Right, there's follow up, follow up. There's the house exchanged. Job done. Stress-free as possible. That's how it should be done. Whereas, I'll be honest, my experience in the past when I wasn't an estate agent, and from people I know anyway, have told me this, is their experience is once the house is sold by the estate agent,
you never hear from them.
they want nothing else to do with it. It's like, it's somebody else's problem now, aka the solicitor. And the solicitor doesn't always go according to plan, because you know yourself, the solicitor has a pile of papers and a pile of books, and what happens is yours goes on the top in the beginning, and then suddenly everybody else starts going on top. And the next minute you're away down the bottom. And the only way you're going to get that is the wheel that squeaks the loudest gets the most oil, and then when somebody phones up, like us or you, and then it gets put up to the top of the pile again. Top of the pile. And then starts getting dealt with again. And that's kind of, let's be honest, that's crisis management. That's how it works.
That's been very reactive to things rather than proactive.
Not very proactive. And best one in the world, I don't think most people know what the real definition or the the phrase is, what you do shout so loud I can't hear what you say. I think that's what we get most of the time. People actually genuinely think they're doing the right thing for their client. And if you feel a bit offended by that, if you are that person, then probably it hits the right chord, if that's the case. Not that I like upsetting the apple cart.
I was just going to say, no, that you do that.
But it's true. It's like, okay. So let's move on from there. But that's generally what happens, isn't it?
Well, and just to round up that the 9-month period, and then obviously if we're here in Scotland, we're conclusion of missives. If you're down in England, you'll be exchanging contracts and things. Do you know, once you get to that stage, you've got that period up until the actual exchange, which then obviously you've got removal vans, you've got like the mortgage funds transfer, and obviously the final legal checks and things being done. So you've got all that to factor in as well. So that adds to that whole, and that's where your whole 9 months is rounded up from the start to the beginning. And that's really from when you put it on the market till you actually hand over the keys and monies are exchanged, funds are transferred.
This is actually quite good because this marries right in with the midweek show Sophie and I are going to do on Thursday at 1 o'clock. We're going to do the Fife property market, and I'm going to be talking about how long it takes to sell a property in Fife.
There you go,
on average, and in comparison to the rest of it. And are we in a buyer's market, a seller's market, or are we in a neutral market right now? I'm going to reassess that situation again. So I'm going to give you an update on Thursday at 1 o'clock. Did I mention Thursday at 1 o'clock? Put it in your
Yeah.
diary,
That's
folks.
Thursday at 1, midweek show.
Midweek show, Thursday at 1 o'clock.
And also, I mean, in the meantime, people might be
Not
thinking
4
like,
o'clock, because I mentioned it 4 times, but just 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
That's no 5 o'clock.
Just confuse people now.
I know.
What time is that? Yeah. But yeah, and I mean, in the meantime, people might be asking, like, does every property in Fife really take that long to sell? And if you think it doesn't, then, and maybe you want to check, then feel free. There's a link in the post here where you could get in touch with us. Click on that and come through, and by all means, you could get obviously an up-to-date review of your property and its place in the market from us.
A lot of people actually mainly message through social media, don't they? They mainly message
Yeah.
us through social media and ask these questions, or they'll send us an email and just ask us as well.
Yeah.
You know, I think the days of phoning in an office are actually quite obsolete now. Yeah, almost
A
like
lot
quite
of what we
obsolete as
do
well.
comes through.
People
Yeah.
tend to text, WhatsApp, or message, or
Mhm.
email. Email seems to be the last out of them people will do, but they tend to do the other ones because it's the new paradigm, isn't it? How people contact each other and how the younger generation tend to interact as well. Okay, so this brings me on to the next one, which is actually quite important: is the best month to sell a home like yours. Well, changing work patterns and 24/7 internet access from our phones. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
90% of people actually start their journey on here, on a phone, they're actively poring over properties all year round. Now, remember what I just said there. The key phrase there is all year round. Yes, even at winter time, even at Christmas, even on New Year's Day, even on New Year's Eve, even on even on Boxing Day bounce actually,
Yeah.
even on Christmas Eve, even on school holidays, even when they're away abroad having a holiday, they've always got access, and people are always on their phones looking for information. In fact, on average, 3 hours a day. I must be above average. You above average, Richard?
Yeah.
Yeah, more than likely. That's TikTok for you. Quite addictive. Or Reels.
Reels, I
Facebook
was just
Reels.
gonna say
Yeah.
Reels, yeah.
Which is quite good actually, because we use that sort of thing.
Yeah,
These
we do use all
mediums. And it's great to get right in front of everybody, especially if you're using a retargeting campaign and actually paying money and actually getting ads right into that person's phone. Their data actually suggests they're looking to
It's
buy
relevant to
a
what they're looking
property like yours. So all year round, whether you're on home or on holiday, nonetheless, certain types of property are affected by seasonal trends, while others escape them, including, I suppose, for me, I'll let you answer the next one, Richard, but family homes get a boost in late winter. Definitely the Boxing Day bounce, isn't it? An early spring from buyers with children who want to move at new schools to start the new
Yeah.
terms in
Yeah, and
mid-August,
time for
early
planning.
September, yeah, for the English market and Scottish market. What other things do we have to think about then? The seasonal
Yeah.
trends, other
So then
escape.
obviously you're thinking about seasons, and obviously properties that have got really good gardens or balconies or terraces generally look obviously their best when they're in bloom. They've got flowers and things. And
Yeah.
that's really mid-spring to the early autumn time. That's the kind of optimum time to really display that in the best way. And when they have their potential to really add that extra value to the property by showing exactly what they are, if it's a good garden space or a really good terrace or whatever, in that optimum time of year. So yeah, definitely that.
Personally, for me, I know it says that you said you've got the potential to add the most value, but for me, I don't think it's really relevant. Because when you're on the market at that particular time of year, if it's winter, for example, and your garden isn't as great as it is, everybody else's garden is exactly the same. No
Yes, it's
one's
kind of
gonna.
an even playing field in that
It's
aspect.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a level playing field, exactly. And that's what I think a lot of sellers don't understand. That in a buyer's eye, they don't see this beautiful garden anyway, because they're not seeing a beautiful garden anywhere else. And if they did, the warning sign for them would be, how's that been on the market so long? Because it now looks out
Yeah.
of place in comparison to everybody else's. And that's not a good thing. That's not a disruptive advert or marketing strategy for your property to have a garden in full bloom, especially when it's out of season, because then it highlights something in the back of somebody's mind without them actually realizing unconsciously that there's something no right about that property. And often you'll get people actually moving on as a result of that, just because the sixth sense sort of thing.
There's something that doesn't sit right with them, and it'll make them move on. Yeah.
That's right, yeah. So I think personally, any time of year is the best time to sell if your circumstances dictate it. Now, we did a wee experiment, didn't we, over the years, and I've deliberately done that, is to sell a house on Christmas Day, to sell a house on Christmas Eve, to sell a house on Boxing Day, to sell a house on New Year's Eve, and to sell a house on New Year's Day. In fact, January the 1st, 2022 is when I sold 14 Kirkwind to someone on the phone who had never walked in the door, and they agreed to buy the property for a record amount of money.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Real. Yeah. Job done. Just like that. And they never got the key. They never saw the property until the day they got the keys. 1 bedroom, ex-local authority in Creole, 210,000. Incidentally, 1 month before, the estate agent downstairs sold theirs for 165.
It's 165.
45 grand of a differential. Do you think the owner downstairs thought, I think I've just chosen the wrong estate agent?
I missed the trick there.
Aye, but you're too late, pal. It's like, that's what happens. So there is a significant difference between what we are doing in a digital marketing strategy and what everybody else is doing as well. That tells me straight away. We've got loads and loads of historical examples about who sold next door, and we sold exactly the same, but we sold it significantly more, even probably quicker as well at the same time. And even got a buyer that never even saw the other property when it was on the market. It had been sitting, waiting in the market for a long time. What does that tell you then about the exposure somebody's got on their website? I saw a very big agent. I got all their details of an existing customer who I went to see. And actually, and they're quite a prominent estate agent, and they've got a lot of offices, and they've got a lot of people working for them. And yet we have more coverage than them on the internet, because they were boasting about how many people they've got visiting their pages and how much reach they've got. And we blow them out of the water.
Yeah.
That's mental, eh? But then that's what you get. People often just see, it's just a Fife properties, just in Fife. It's like, let's go for somebody in Edinburgh. Oh my God. Do you know what? If somebody wants to buy something in Edinburgh, they'll go to an Edinburgh estate agent to buy it. They won't go to someone in Fife if they're based in Fife to buy. You wouldn't go to an Edinburgh estate agent to buy a property in Fife. You just wouldn't do that.
No.
But that's often how people think. It's just not logical.
I was just going to say, to me, that's no joined up thinking, to think, to think like that, but then people do.
But I think it's a lot to do with they're convinced that this other estate agent has a lot of coverage.
Just because they maybe come across as a wee bit more prestigious, I don't know, or they portray themselves.
It could be that. They'll attract a different type of buyer because they're up there. It's like, no, they don't. No, they don't. We attract exactly the same buyer. If not, we attract probably more buyers that they'll never even touch, because the buyers that we're attracting sometimes are the buyers in the marketplace that often have just made a decision to buy a property, but they've actually not been on Rightmove, Zoopla, or any website at all to look for anything yet, because they've just made a decision. But because they've been messaging friends and talking to friends on their phone about it, and they've been private messaging back and forward, the data is picked up in our analytics, and we're able to get our advert right in front of them straight away before they even start their search on any websites.
It's kind of like, and it's the same for lettings as well when I do lettings. And there was one recently that I spoke to you about, and it was up in Peaton, and it was a former B&B. And it's obviously a very bespoke thing, 6 bedrooms, it's massive. And to go on for a residential let, and 2 very big agents couldn't do it. And when I spoke to the guy, I'm like, that's because they've not got the exposure, they're not picking up. Do you know, I put it in the market, and 2 weeks later I had a couple from America actually fly over, and they now live in it, love it. And that's because of the reach that we've got in comparison.
It's mental, eh?
Yeah.
It's like David and Goliath, isn't it? When you think about it, it's like David and Goliath. We're David and everybody else is Goliath. It's like, and everybody's convinced of the size of the organization that they're going to be absolutely fantastic. But often great things come in small packages. But it's not what I was going to say it's not what you've got, it's what you do with it. But I've said it.
Oh, that's one paper.
Ah, dear. I've said it now. It's on, it's live. So I can't say I was going to say, because I did. So I think, you know, there's no best, you know, there's always a best time of year, and it's now. I think now is the answer to everything. The
If
best
your
time of year
circumstances drive you forward
is
to
always
that,
now.
then
Always
yeah.
now, always now. So homes with no outside space will mainly appeal to child-free buyers, are generally unaffected by seasons. Because like there's nothing to see, it's just an outside space. You're just buying a home when you look at it, unless there's a view that comes into its own at a particular time of year. I don't think personally.
See that?
I
I mean,
think
you could
personally,
argue that.
sometimes when you think about it, the view is often more advantageous to sell your house in the autumn season and in the winter season and just early spring, because everything comes into full bloom and blocks the view later on.
Yeah. But then I think as well, like if you think about the East Nuke and you've got a sea view, or you think about the Fife countryside, you've got a countryside view. Do you know they look good at all different times of the year
All
in their
time of
own, and
years.
you know in their own right. Autumn, winter, spring, summer. There's
You
always
don't see that in a picture. You don't see
no.
that in a picture really at all. And often we just change the sky to a blue sky anyway.
Mhm.
You're allowed to do that. That's okay.
Yeah, yeah. No.
I mean,
We're
who
not, we're
wants
not
to have a horrible, cloudy, rainy sky in their picture? I mean, that's just no one. And as well, when you come to things like when you're doing video walkthroughs, just make sure you coincide with a day which is nice and beautiful,
Yeah.
and then you have a wee
To block out the wind. Yeah.
yeah, the wind resistor. You've got a wind resistor on your microphone, so if it's blowing, if it's howling a gale at that point in time, no one ever notices it because I've got no hair; it flaps in the wind. So that's why no one ever notices it, which is fantastic.
So.
Yeah, your stays still as well. So that's the advantage of being able to have the right tools and technology, and in order to do the right, have the right strategy to do this.
Yeah.
So I think all that said, before we move on to the next one about taking your time to pick the best estate agent, all that said, your home can stand out whatever you choose to sell with enough preparation and strong marketing strategy from an effective agent, by the way.
Yeah.
And that's precisely what we're going to be covering next. Taking your time to pick the best estate agent. What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think when you choose your agent, it's really important to just kind of take that wee step back and think about why you're choosing them, and look at what they do. When it comes to finding the perfect agent, do you know, book valuations speak to at least maybe a couple of agents a month before you plan to actually put the property on the market, rather than like you're ready to go and want to put it on the market tomorrow.
This is quite interesting. We always say that all the time. And I was actually somebody, and he wrote to me today actually in an email, and he says, I've had 3 agents out. You're one of them. We are going with you definitely. I am the highest, by the way, in terms of price. But that's the best investment for him because of the result we can get at the end. And plus the fact the result and way we manage the whole sale all the way through. So you could be perceived as the most expensive, but in actual fact, you're not the most expensive when you work out the numbers when it comes right down to the brass tacks at the end of the transaction. But it was interesting because he says, I got 3 out because I see on your previous blogs you've always said that. And so my advice right now, if you're listening, Robin, is what I should say is if you get us out, there's no point in going to any other agent because you've got the right people in the first place. But if you've got anybody else out and you've still not considered us, you probably need to get us out then and pick 2 or 3 if that's the case and get us as one of them, because then you know you've got the right estate agent. So whatever one it is, make sure we're in it, and then you know you've got the right estate agent. That's all I can say about that.
Yeah.
Now, that could be perceived as big-headed. However, I've got a set of double doors to get my head out at night. But that could be perceived as big-headed. But I've got the results to back it up.
I think as long as you could demonstrate and back up what you're saying with the results,
Every single time I have got the results to back it up every single time. So have you, Richard. There's no doubt about that. We have the results to back it up. So it's not what you do. It's more or less what you do. Shout so loud I can't hear you.
Yeah.
And it's taking action. It's doing it. It's not sitting there doing nothing. It's being able to interact with people at weekends, at night times and stuff like that. The customer base that you need to drive forward, the buyer that you need to attract out of hours as well, because they're the same working pattern as what most of
Yeah.
us are. I mean, they're not really going to contact you during the day. They tend to contact you at night. And if you've not got a strategy to incorporate that and deal with these people, and you're just a 9 to 5 Dolly Parton estate agent, 9 to 5. Well, the Dolly Parton estate agent, you need to be with an estate agent is Arkwright, aka Open All Hours,
Yeah.
Ronnie Barker.
Yeah, definitely. Because a lot, I mean, like you say, people have their own working life, and you tend to find that they come through out with that time. So if you're only working at those times, you know, it's a bit of conflict. Anyway,
So what do we need to do then? What's the top tips for people that need to do?
Yeah, when we talk about obviously aging, like get obviously expert tips and the time to action them to really boost your selling price and speed a sale through with better presentation, you know, perfect photography, and get that maximum interest in your property, that exposure and that interest, and getting the property in front of the right people, like we said.
You talked about photography, but we would also emphasize videography.
Oh yeah,
and I really don't mean silent movies.
interactive.
I mean what we're doing right now, interactive, talking pictures, you know, somebody actually taking a tour around the property, but most importantly, telling you the things that you can't see in a photograph. For example, where it is in relation to the schools, the restaurants, the cafes, the bistros. I'm going to mention it, Fife Coastal Path, the harbour, St Andrews, Ely, you know, all the train station. All these different things. That's what people really want to know as a buyer, especially if they don't know the area, which is more or less, if you're outside the area and even other side of Fife, which is more or less about 99% of the time, you won't know the area in detail. So it's great to have somebody at the other end that actually clearly explains why you should be considering this house that they're advertising to buy. But you're only ever going to get that message across in talking pictures, which is what we do. The tour, the personal property tour, the pre-portal launch videos. We walk people around the property and tell them what they're getting and what it is. It's features versus benefits. We talk more about the benefits because that's what gets a better price at the end and gets other people otherwise interested that possibly wouldn't have done anything if they'd just seen photographs.
Because it's so much more engaging. Yeah.
Let me give you an example. Let me give you a great example. What's your favourite television and programme now, Richard?
At the moment, well, I'm rewatching Lost just now, so.
Oh yeah, funny enough, that came up the other night on Netflix or something. I saw it as well. They must be pushing it.
I never finished it.
So let's look at Lost. How many millions of people have watched Lost?
Oh, loads.
Probably over 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe even over 100 million all the time. So 100 million people have watched Lost. They've watched the video and they've watched the TV programme. They've listened to the actors. They've actually really bought into it. And then I was announced tomorrow that I tell you what, instead, I'm going to still run Lost. But in future, out of these 100 million people that are watching it, or maybe the millions that are watching it now, instead of them being able to watch it now, I'm going to give them photographs of the cast and I'm going to give them the script to read instead. Do you think all these millions of people would just continue to do that?
No.
No. There would probably be significantly less. Well, do you know how that's exactly how a estate agency is done today? Photographs and descriptions. So if you're doing television presentation and walking people through a property and talking to them, how much higher of an impact will that have on them for your property as a seller? Exponentially, significantly higher, not just double, triple, quadruple, you know, whatever it is next after that, 5 times, 6 times, 8 times. It's going to be significantly more. We even tell people they're watching our videos just because they love watching the videos.
Yeah, I get that. I get people just watch some of the videos. I get it all the time. Like, oh, I've been watching you.
It is the second most talked about subject outside of the weather.
Yeah.
Property. And that's why people watch them all the time. But the great thing about them watching them, they can tell everybody else, they get educated about the area, and that's what it's all about. Somebody actually asked me recently, how on earth have you managed to get St. Monans up to such a high price? Because St. Monans to them used to be the back of beyond. They were going to,
Yeah.
it was the poor relation in the East Nuke.
And
How have you got this? Have you got this up so high? I says, just drip feed campaigns, clever marketing, talking about the right things, the proximity it is to Ely, how close it is over the hill to St Andrews, the cafes, bistros, and restaurants in the area, the old water tidal pool, the history behind the salt pans, and the fact that it used to cover a lot of, the salt distribution right across Scotland. All these different things made a huge difference. The Battle of St Monans, how it was instrumental in the reformation of the church at the time, and how important that was. And see, when you talk about that, the price just goes up and up and up in somebody's mind, because it becomes more valuable, because that has value to someone now. It's no longer bricks and mortar, it's a feeling, and feelings are worth a lot more. Otherwise, why are you driving the car and you're driving this now? Why are you not driving the cheapest car right now? Why are you not driving the, because you only want to get from A to B, that's all it's there for. So why are you driving a more expensive car than you could get with the cheapest car you could buy? It's a feeling. It's emotion.
It's been made to feel like that in your mind,
That's exactly what happens with a house. People put more value on something with emotion. It's intact in it.
Yeah, St Monans, I was in West Street, was it last week? I don't know. Sun was out, everybody was queued up at the Giddy-Gana, everybody was round at the harbour, it was beautiful. St Monans is really nice.
Look at Aber Hill, right next door at the train station now. How many people actually need educated on that? Quite a few, because Aber Hill's similar in a reputation from years and years ago, but because it's right next to the station now, and it's easy access into the swimming pool, the high street, the bus station, the retail park round the corner, all these different things, you're just walking down the hill. It is the closest housing bit to actually the train station and leaving.
Yeah.
So how, in the last 4 years, has Aber Hill gone up double in the last 4 or 5 years? Doubled in price.
Yeah.
And it'll still continue to go up as a result of it. As people are not on the doorstep, add more value to it based on the information that we are relaying to them and what we're telling them, and how it's what it's worth. The emotional bit of it, not the bricks and mortar. Man, a 2-bedroom flat in one of the most challenged areas in Methil, it's like, oh, I'm not buying that. 2-bedroom flat, upper, elevated on a hilltop. Walk down there, you're at the train station, retail park, you're on the Fife coastal path, you're on the beach, golden sandy beaches overall, within reach of cafes, bistros and restaurants. That's a totally different proposition, isn't it? That's the same property.
Do you know, some of the ones in Aber Hill, you could actually, the views across the Firth and everything are amazing.
I know. I stayed there. I stayed in Canarsie, then I stayed in Taylor Street. Yeah, it's like I think it's gold, absolute gold in terms of acres of diamonds sitting right in front of you. This is they're ripe for appreciation, definitely, and I know that for definite over the years because of what it is and where it is. That's what it comes down to. Just like London, you've got areas in London that were never ever considered, and all of a sudden they're now upmarket bistros and restaurants and all the rest of it. And prices have gone sky high as a result of it. And everybody looks back all these years ago and thought, God, I would never have bought a place there.
I bet they wish they did now.
Yeah, definitely. Well, hindsight's a great thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got to have the foresight to actually be able to see these trends happening and see where it is. I tell you, who gives it away a lot? McDonald's.
Yeah, the
so
big
you see a McDonald's. So you see a McDonald's opening up your doorstep, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. They've invested millions and millions of pounds in marketing and information and data collection as well, and analytics to analyze exactly who their customer profile is and exactly if they're going to make money. They do not want to open a store if they're not making money. That's why they open it, because they know there's money floating about and it's coming as a result of the inward investment coming from all different sources that you don't know about yet. You just don't know about it. They know about it because they're in that group of people that do that.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's get back to it. Picking the best estate agent. I think we could just cover it and just say pick us.
we could, but I mean, to be obviously to look at it as obviously somebody that's looking for the best agent and wanting to kind of break it down. properly examine each agent's their accuracy on the pricing, and this really brings it down to, I mean, when your agent comes in, they should be able to demonstrate to you and show you comparables and how they actually arrived at the price they're
Agreed.
giving you for the property, and not just plucked out of the air.
Yep.
Do you know? And then, like
Agreed.
you say, quality photography and
Here it is all there.
Yeah.
All the comparables are printed off from a couple of market appraisals on Tuesday, I think it is. It's like, that's all information. That tells everybody they need to know. That tells them exactly what price their property is worth, because I've got all the evidence to suggest that yours is a bit like that, just a wee bit of tweaking that, so you're round about that price point. And when the surveyor walks in, he goes, "Ah, you're absolutely right." So you can know with certainty. That's key. If an estate agent isn't turning up with that evidence straight away, and they go, "Oh, I'll have to go back to the office and think about it." What do you mean you got to think about it? Unless your property is actually unique in comparison to everybody else, it's pretty obvious what it is.
Bespoke, then you should be able to tell them on the spot.
I have to go back to the office and think about it. Really means I've not really done my homework. So
yeah, I don't really know. Yeah,
but I think the other one, and most important as well, is let's look at track record. Not how many houses you've sold in the area. What price have you achieved in monetary terms and in percentage terms over the home report value? On average, maybe for the last 6 months, or maybe for the last year, the last 12 months in this area. That is a great benchmark. That shows you straight away the value added proposition that people have to offer, as opposed to going, who's got the cheapest fee?
Yeah,
That's a really bad strategy, by the way. It's like race to the bottom with fees. It's like, how much are you going to charge me? Well, I'm going to save a couple of £100. I'll go with you. What website is I'm on? Oh, what? I've never heard of that website. Oh, right.
on the market.
Oh, but I'm getting it cheap. Nobody's going to see you. It's like, why haven't I got any buyers? I'm not sure. It's like it's because they've not got the reach.
Yeah,
they can't demonstrate the reach either, really. But let's move on.
Yeah, and again, obviously, like, I mean, photography is still a big part of it. Obviously, what's the promises on, like, the keeping in touch policy and things as well, and also that strategy for making that big splash. And that's where obviously video and obviously we do pre-portal and ahead of that comes into play, making that big splash onto the initial, not even just the portals, but the marketing strategy, and then maintaining that momentum as well.
Yeah, I had somebody once contact us and say, "You guys never keep in touch," and I'm talking to them on the phone. And it's like, "This is Sunday." Does that not clearly demonstrate we're keeping in touch? Because I'm speaking to you on a Sunday. Yeah. I don't know any other agent that speaks to you on a Sunday. Yeah. I think it's often you take it for granted when you think everybody else does that, because that's your only experience of estate agents in a long time, and there's an assumption that everybody else does that. No, they don't. They just switch off at 5 o'clock for the weekend.
It's
weekend. Everything gets thrown in there.
That's part of what we do. And you know, I remember there was somebody phoned me on a Sunday, and it was through rentals, but they were actually a tenant of another letting agent that sounds kind of similar to ours, and they couldn't get a hold of them. I ended up helping them because I felt sorry for the person. And I'm like, and it's like, if they hadn't got me, they would have been, don't know where they would have been, but they would never got their managing agent.
Yeah.
And that was at the weekend, and it's just what we do.
So then have you, I think a good response is the initial instinct you get when a estate agent. Do you click? Yeah. Now there's ways that actually estate agents know if you're a good estate agent to be able to manipulate that process. I am just me. If you don't like me,
yeah,
so what? It's just one of these things. It's just me. I can't change myself. And I'm a Marmite. You know, I'm a Marmite. Yeah. Yeah. You'll either not like me or you'll love me. That's it, really, in a nutshell. And I don't appeal to everybody. But I definitely think the earlier you invite agents into your home, the more time you'll have to pave the way for higher selling price, faster sale, and less stress with someone you actually trust and enjoy talking to,
and feel like you align with, like what your values and your view on things kind of align.
Yeah.
You know that when you speak with somebody at an appraisal.
Let's move on. We've got 15 minutes left, allowing time for pre-sale preparations.
Okay.
What's your thoughts?
So, I mean, how you present your home can really add literally thousands to your sale price, often with just a few simple touches. So it pays to really allow yourself the time to stage the property for its own success within the market. And there's a few things and steps we could follow to do that. Photography, again, I'll come back to. Take photos of the room with your phone to see what it looks like cluttered, and then obviously on the camera from your own phone. And then in any way, the furnishings and things could be put in a different way for viewings, or maybe when the photographer comes in, it's not going to look too obstructive.
Line of sight for windows and fireplaces.
And things that accent, maybe if you've got a really nice picture window, do you know, really accent that. Or like fireplaces and things. Do you know, have them take pride of place in the room and not be cluttered with stuff around it that takes away from it in photography and video. So think about that, and think about the spatial
decluttering for me is one of the ones, you know, choosing between selling and donating, storing with a friend, or hiring a room, or boxing up items, or hiding them away in your home that they won't detract from your viewings. Stick them all out in the garage. Nobody takes photographs of your garage, by the way. We don't take video inside garages unless you've got a workshop or something like that. It's going to be astounding. Or unless you've got a bar in your garage. Some people do, so that's why we do that. But other than that, you could get everything in there, or everything in the cupboards, because we don't go into cupboards either. And then that keeps all that declutters everything out the way. But there's great blogs for decluttering, and if you want more information on that, please reach out to us, and we can send you a blog on decluttering, and that will show you exactly what you need to do. If you go on our YouTube channel and put declutter Fife Properties, you'll come up with a video for it, definitely. Make a list of odd jobs to complete, such as painting over stained on the ceiling, stains on the ceiling. Remember, and get a stain blocker first before you paint over it, because it'll just come right back through if you don't get a proper stain blocker. And when your showers leaked in 2004, maybe 20 years ago, and you've never done anything about it, you just thought, I'm not really bored. You never got up to it. And tighten loose door handles, or jet washing mossy patio, for example.
Clean up your paths and entrance areas and things.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Once you've removed and rearranged and repaired, it's time for a thorough deep clean, including the insides of cupboards, behind sofas and under beds, to give your home a sprightly spring in its step, I would say. If the key here is, Sarah Beanie used to talk about all the time. For some reason, I had Sarah Beanie's number on my phone at one point in time. Do you remember that? It's like,
why?
I was like, why have I got Sarah Beanie's phone? Where did I get that from? But honestly, it was. I don't know. For some reason, I had Sarah Beanie's number on my phone. Anyway, apart from that, Sarah used to always say, if you don't love your home, how do you expect anybody else to love it?
Definitely.
That's key here. So I definitely think allow time for pre-sale preparations. These are all the things to do. If you need more information, reach out to us. But there is, in a nutshell, a summary on this blog anyway, and you can just read the script itself. Here we come down to the final thing, Richard. This is the one for me, which we've got lots of detail in here, especially a lot of the blogs that we've done previously, which will be brilliant for people that definitely want to sell at different seasons, and why. The seasonal advantages and the styling tips on what we need to do. They all offer unique opportunities, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, every season offers unique opportunities to really showcase your home when you're looking to sell. So there are some timely tricks to help buyers really fall in love and at first sight with your property. And whether that's in the sun is shining, or whether the skies are grey, as we said, all year round. Do you know, the winter's all about the warm and welcome. When buyers come in for the cold, and you've got the fire on, and fire's crackling, and do you know, it all feels cozy, and you've got the woolly cushions in the throws, and do you know, even if you've got like cinnamon candles and all that, do you know, all these sensory things? Winter's really all about that.
Why do you think I talk about a glass of whiskey, or a glass of sherry, or a glass of wine sitting in front of the log burner, and just the heat coming out and emanating right through the property? Aye, and you're sitting with friends and family, contemplating the world and talking just gibberish in a nutshell, really. But it's great because you're with people you love,
and you create that feeling.
That it's the feeling. definitely. If I just said, look, it's a room with a log burner, it's like, that's a completely different picture than what I just created.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So, and yeah, I think the winter one's quite good to create that feeling. And then on the flip side, we have springtime. Springtime's really good for that feeling of really like fresh starts, where buyers come. I mean, everything really comes out of hibernation, and buyers themselves come out of hibernation. So it's time to brighten up your home and catch that season's vibe with all the spring vibe and the fresh flowers and all that.
Snowdrops.
All that kind of, yeah, all that kind of fresh start of the year feeling, yeah.
Tulips, not from Amsterdam. That's popped up. Tulips from Amsterdam popped into my head again. It's like one of these things. I've got a curse that relate to other things, and daffodils as well. That's springtime, isn't it? And then you get into the realms of, you get the lambs, the lambing season, and possibly you get into the realms of maybe this is maybe sneaking into summer, which you're about to talk about, is the fresh cut grass.
Yeah, spring. I think spring, the fresh cut grass does then take you into the summer. But spring's a really good one. Spring's my favourite time of year. But summer's really good as well, and that's when you could really capitalise on, your added outdoor space. Do you know that al fresco kind of time of year, garden styling, and really all those summer selling tips that are in the blog that's attached. And we've spoke about, like you said, we've spoke about them all before. But really taking advantage of the outside space, and like you said, when you're in a room, leading your eye out into that garden through the window and using or capitalizing on the light in the room as well.
The light are nice.
Yeah, using that to your advantage is definitely a plus point.
Everything starts to speed up, doesn't it? Everything starts to speed up when it comes to summer and spring, because obviously it gets lighter and there's longer days with light. Therefore, people end up viewing from day to day rather than actually weekend to weekend, which is in the winter period. But it doesn't mean to say that someone won't make an effort, definitely, and you'll always get that. And as I said, that's exactly why I sold properties at what people perceived as a slower time of year, just to prove that point. It's all down to the estate agent and the motivation they've got behind what they want to do. In order to sell your property, and I'll be honest and say most put their happy hats on and their Christmas hats and close for the season, and that's in November. In their mind, it's like in their mind they're like, we'll just advise everybody to roll on and put their house on in January, and it's like, wait a minute, January, February, March are usually the time when it starts snowing.
Yeah, and that lead up to Christmas and everything could be such a busy time of year. And the perfect time to be thinking about putting your property on the market for a sale in the start of the coming year. And then that brings us on to the autumn time as well.
Autumn, the one that we're just about to go into.
Yeah. So, and autumn's really the time where you get the most spectacular film and video. Do you know, all the amber and autumn colours? Do you know, the golden trees, the low sunlight? Do you know, the sun starts to be lower in the sky, and you get that really, you could catch really good photographs and indeed in video as well. And there's a lot of good things you could capture. And again, it's that sensory thing where it starts to get colder, so you're creating that cozy feeling inside, and you could start bringing in the smells of.
You don't really, see, the smells are really important, and the smells is actually to take the season from things like Febreze and fabric softeners. There are other air fresheners, but these are the smells to put in your house to get the right season, to get the right emotive response, and get people's minds programmed to say that, this is the place for me. It's the freshly cut dew, it's the fresh dew on the grass in the morning. It's that sort of thing. It's like what you say, the autumn golden, the browns and the oranges and the reds coming off the trees as the green leaves change color. And then it's like what you said, when the sun comes and hits the trees as it is in front of your house, and then you see the rays bursting out through the tree onto the house. So when you're coming around in a video, all of a sudden it catches a glimpse of it. It excites people. They don't realize it's happening.
The sun's always that bit lower in the sky.
Of course, because they like to see it. I mean, what does a rainbow do to you? Think about that. When you see a rainbow in the sky, you can see exactly the same sky, but if you see a rainbow, you immediately go, oh, wow.
Yeah.
It lifts you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's the same with the sun breaking through the trees or the bushes or that, and or coming through the window, and the rays coming through the window into the room. That's what drives the emotion of people when they're viewing, and also when they're viewing in video. That's key and instrumental here. And that's why, and a lot of people pick me up on this now. You know, this kind of stand a joke. You're going to tell where the sun stays on the back garden all day long. Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Why would you? Why else would you be buying a house? Who wants to buy a house that's got no sun on it?
Yeah,
It's
you want
one
to
of
know
the
where
key.
it's in the sun.
For me personally, it's one of the key factors. I lived in a 2-bedroom flat when I got my very first flat, and it was at the rear of the house, and you never got the sun ever on the back. You had to keep the light on all day in the living room, every time, all time of day, because there was never. It had a big window and it had the kitchen off it as well. But the reality was the sun never came round to that window at all ever, and that was the most annoying thing about it. Now, if it was at the front of the property where the double bedroom was with the bay window, I would have been quids in because the sun would have been on all the time. But it was at the back, and that for me, if I'd known that at the time, that probably would have put me off.
Yeah.
So this is why I talk a lot about where the sun can be. So even if you have a room like that, fine, you can just nip out the back door and sit at a certain point in the garden, for example,
And
the front
enjoy
and
the
the
sun.
back. Yeah, and you're going to be sitting in the sun. It's essential. It is literally a life-giving force, the sun. And that's why we crave it so much. So why would you not point that out to people? You know, the
Of course.
advantage,
It's one of the
especially
most important things for everyone. Yeah.
especially got a teaming down on the garden all day long. And then your garden's enclosed. And then there's no wind. And then you've got privacy. You don't get that in a photograph, do you?
No.
Think about that.
That's what's going
How
to
did
sell
you
your house.
Yeah. How did anybody that's tuning in right now, how did you feel when I talked about that? If you saw a garden in a photograph, would you feel different if the photograph said to you that it was enclosed, it was protected from the elements, so there's no wind, and when the sun came in, it was a complete sun trap, so you could lie there at probably any time of year if the sun's out and actually top up your tan? That's a huge difference to what a photograph can do, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a big difference in that.
That's why talking pictures are so important.
Yeah. But yeah, so obviously we've explored all the seasons and how they're all beneficial in their own way to selling your property. And if it's winter, summer, spring, autumn, like we've just run through, the links are in the blog there to all our shows that we've done before about the advantages of them individually. And if you're wondering how your home could look its best, whatever the season and fits for your moving plans, then just contact us, message us direct, or you could click on the link that's in the post as well.
Yeah, and if you're looking to sell, just get us out to sell your house. There's no more point in calling anyone else. Oh dear. Well, we can't have fun with it. What's the point of doing it?
Yeah,
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's tongue in cheek. But to be fair, there's so much involved in synchronizing your moves with your plans and things as well. And we'd love to help you time it to perfection. So by all means, feel free to contact us.
Perfect. Thanks for coming on the show, Richard. I appreciate your time this morning. And if anybody else wants to ask any questions later on, please feel free to contact us on this post. Message us direct, or you can put some in the comments. We'll pick it up later on. Until next time, guys, have a fantastic weekend and the rest of the day. Bye-bye.